So, hi everyone. I am Trini. My colleague Christina is with us online. And Jakub asked us to talk a bit about our PhD projects that relate to participatory processes, mostly relating to education, participatory processes in architectural education. Christina has already completed hers. The title is Co-Creation and Co-Governance Pedagogy in Architecture, Embracing a Sense of Belonging in the City, and mine is still ongoing, hopefully ending soon-ish. And it's called Pedagogy of the Commons, the Co-Design and Build Studio. Christina, you wanna? Yes.
Okay, since 2021, we started the co-creation studio with Nadia Haralambous. It has been a collective effort to establish the studio in a specific framework and a methodology and document the results. And here we try to make a diagram explaining what the studio is about in relation with our research. We try to map the key concepts that our research tackles, showing the overlaps. For example, you can see here in the middle some concepts such as live studios, community engagement, urban commons, co-creation, and transdisciplinary collaboration that we have in common with Frini, as well as the research cases from 2021 until 2024, some of which are shared, but with different emphasis. I personally give emphasis on the studio, while Frini emphasizes on the workshop every summer.
Okay, so moving on a bit to the theoretical part that kind of frames, let's say, both of our respective works. We situate this research basically on Southeastern Mediterranean contexts. And I'm going to talk a bit about the sociopolitical dynamics as we understand it. So basically, in this research, we frame neoliberalism as one of the key driving forces behind the changes in the cities. It exacerbates some negative changes, and for some others, it can be also the cause. So neoliberalism basically is the financialization of everything and the increasing dominance of finance capital over productive capital. By productive capital, we mean basically using money and resources to create a good or a service. So let's say putting money or material into building a house and living in it. Finance capital is using money to make more money. So for example, buying a house and waiting for the prices to go up so you can resell it and make revenue out of it. So yeah, as I said before, neoliberalization exacerbates. We are recording.
We are recording, yes. I just want to see you on the screen.
So yeah, exactly because of these changes that we have in the cities, like uneven development, the accelerating climate crisis, the increased economic disparities, and so on, there is a need for diverse approaches into how we manage spatial production from our standpoint as spatial practitioners. And in general, this is an idea that has been around for a long time already, that participation is important in reaching a sustainable and resilient future for urban life. So that's basically our basic premise, let's say. So two of the main concepts or methods, let's say, that we use in framing this co-creation studio that we're going to present in a moment. It's co-creation and community engagement. This is one part, and then the urban commons. So co-creation and community engagement is basically creating something new through collective creativity and collective decision-making. And if you're wondering what's the difference between participation and co-creation, basically co-creation is, I don't know if you're familiar with the ladder of Einstein, the different levels of participation. Anyway, it goes from plain informative all the way to delegation of power when it comes to decision making. Co-creation stands on the top of this ladder of participation. It's about delegating some of the power towards community members, stakeholders participating, so that they can have a meaningful say in what's happening and actually create it together. That's what co-creation means. And then urban commons. Again, it's a concept that has been around for some time. I won't go into the history of it, but basically the urban commons are resources, urban resources. It can be public space, it can be knowledge even. It doesn't have to be something material or tangible, it can be something intangible as well. So they are resources that are managed by the users in a non-profit oriented and pro-social way, and by collectively agreed upon rules. So commoning is the process of managing, let's say. It's this bottom-up social process of basically reclaiming value. So nothing is strictly economic anymore. This is what the urban commons do, is basically to highlight the social value beyond money.
And now regarding the architectural education, the co-creation studio is based on community engagement, situated learning, and transdisciplinary knowledge. A studio is the primary model of architectural education and has been defined as a place that promotes quick and reactive and creative action, and as a word that represents the real world of practice, but free of its pressures and risks. This definition reveals one of the most major concerns regarding the studio today, the balance between engaging the studio with the real world and detaching it from it. Since the early 21st century, approaches such as community design, live projects, and design to build studios have been implemented and criticized. And such approaches try to engage the students with the real world and help them develop knowledge and skills through interactions with the real environment and real stakeholders. In this framework, the co-creation studio is based in projects such as live projects and design-build studios that are characterized by a strong participatory nature and operate in real time with real stakeholders. Live projects are processes through which students learn by being exposed to real conditions as they respond to pressing needs, redefining what is valuable, engendering criticality, complexity, and conflict. And design-build studios focus on hands-on engagement and one-to-one construction, increasing the sense of responsibility and trying to prompt a pragmatic and empathetic understanding of architectural practice.
Okay, so the next question we try to tackle is what about Cyprus and why are we trying to do this in Cyprus? And we talked a bit before about community engagement and community empowerment and so on, but one of our basic premises is that community is not just assumed, it's not something that just exists. It needs constantly affirming, and it needs constantly producing also through the actions of the people. And this is, and in general, I mean, community in a way is linked to our relation with space. Space plays a role in how a community is formed. And that in Cyprus has changed throughout the years, especially because of the colonial regime of the late 19th and 20th century. And why we're saying this? Basically, shared land management and commoning has been a native practice in Cyprus as well as other Ottoman territories, let's say. So it's something that was existing there already. But the colonial land reforms that followed after, because there was a need, let's say, in quotation marks, to accelerate the modernization process on the island, they ended up reconfiguring the way people manage and relate to the land. So by extension, they ended up reconfiguring also how communities are formed today. And one of the most important documents that, at least for me, kind of illustrates how everything came about, at least in terms of land management and spatial production, is the planning report of 1959, where it was basically written that public participation and democratic planning may not be effective in developing countries. And from then onward, we see a lot of phenomena that have to do with the absence of democratic processes in how we shape our cities. So the uncontrolled city expansion, the urban sprawl, the over parcellation, and so on.
Through the co-creation studio, we aim to investigate the impact live pedagogies have on participating stakeholders and students regarding their relation to urban space and their perceptions and attitudes towards their role as citizens or as future professionals. The studio in 2022, the second case, the first one was in 2021. It was a spring semester second year studio. It was about a set of sites near Milu Street in Lacha municipality. And the aim was to reflect on the concepts of co-sharing and co-living, to develop user profiles and design a co-housing arrangement, to develop preliminary design proposals for an in-between empty plot in Milu Street, and define its relation to the co-housing project. And it involved several second-year students, experts and professionals, local residents, and the local authorities, the Lacha municipality, through several co-creation workshops with the local residents, through mapping and analysis of the broader area, and an iterative design process.
So the design and build workshop that followed after in the summer of 2022, it was basically about co-designing a master plan for a new green area in the municipality, and create also one-to-one prototypes for the future parks urban equipment. As Christina said, it was an empty lot in Milu Street in Lacha. And the work was divided basically into 1 week of intensive design and 2 weeks of intensive construction. And the result, one of the results, you can see also in the back of the Sharit Pablo. Yeah, these are some of the pictures from that year, the master plan, you can see on the left, and one of the play structures for small kids is that one on the top, and the thing in the bottom.
Then in 2023, the studio was again in Lacha municipality, in a set of sites opposite the Lacha High School, with the aim to develop user profiles, to design a co-housing arrangement, reflect on the concept of sharing and co-living, and to reimagine the high school as an important node for the neighborhood. We had again the second year students with experts and professionals and the users of the school. Through several joint co-creation workshops with year 3 and year 4 students in another lesson, through mapping and analysis of the area, and again through an iterative design process.
And in parallel studio, that year we tried out kind of separating a bit the co-creation process from the studio itself. So there was another course running in parallel with the studio that was meant to be in collaboration with the studio. So students from the second year housing studio would collaborate with year 3 and year 4 students of that specific course. And they would jointly design, co-design special interventions for this, for a high school courtyard in Lacha municipality, with the intention of selecting one of the proposals in the end and implementing it during the summer work. These are some of the proposals that came out that year. And, this is the 2023 design and build workshop in the end. So we chose one after a democratic process, a voting process that took place here at the architecture school. 3 projects actually were selected, and we encouraged the students to actually combine those 3 projects, find common elements, and come to a result altogether. So that's what happened. And that year also was the first year that we tried the model of the workshop as it is now, or for now, with different themes and roles that students could take on apart from the actual building tasks. So students could choose between the color, the plant, the website or promotion theme, and do some extra tasks relating to the project. So for example, what kind of colors and what kind of patterns are we going to use on the final build result to make it even more, I don't know, aesthetically pleasing, and yeah, to what kind of plants we're gonna put in there. And as for the roles, project manager, site supervisor, event coordinator, and roadie, it's all about sharing the responsibility of carrying out the work collectively in a construction website. These were roles that changed daily, so everybody can get a chance to experience what it is to be a project manager, for example, to oversee the whole process. And this is the final result, the field result as it was in the summer of 2023, and you can find us also. There are some funny videos on TikTok if you want to take a look.
And then this year studio aimed to co-design mobile structures for a middle school in its neighborhood, again in Lacha municipality, aiming to reflect on the concepts of sharing and co-living, and reimagine the school as an important node for the neighborhood. Again, with the year 2 students, with experts, professionals, and the school users. And the aim was also to provide the opportunity to the school users to optimize the way they interact with these mobile structures by taking them to different places, using them in various ways, and also through the possibility to move them out of the school in the neighborhood to connect with the neighbors and activate unused spaces if they wish to.
And this is what happened this summer. So we ended up building 3 mobile structures, and during this year, because the students from the second year studio had to do both the work of the studio and the design of the mobile structures, we had to spend 10 days in the beginning of this workshop to finalize the designs based also on the budget available and some other real time restrictions that we had. So they came up with these 3 designs that you see here in the middle on the left side. The premise again was the same, different things with side tasks and daily roles for them to choose from on a daily basis. And can we put it now? Can we move on?
Mm-hmm.
So these are not yet done, as there is a painting workshop with the middle school students, which is going to take place at the end of the month. So we're going to go to the school. The structures are already there. We're going to do some joint. We're going to do a joint session basically on how to paint the structures, what kind of patterns, and so on. And then we're going to paint it. And after that, there's going to be also an inauguration event that the school wants to do to open it up. So, yeah.
And here some of the results related to the impact on the participants over these 4 years of research. It was observed that the approach impact the students by enhancing understanding of several key concepts, and also by improving specific technical skills and some soft skills, and increasing their motivation, their commitment, and confidence. And also it was observed a shift in their attitude towards their role as future professionals. And they also evolved from passive listeners to more active members of their teams through the semesters and through the workshops. And also the approach had an impact on the participants too, on some residents and users who recognize the value of the process over the outcome and express satisfaction with the opportunity to share their opinions and having a voice for their neighborhood. And also they showed interest in similar initiatives. I think that's all. Here is the QR code if you want to follow the studio. So thank you.
Presentation is about my research in my PhD thesis called Urban Planning Labs, Experimentation at the Neighborhood Level. I start with the hypothesis that a global housing crisis is understood as an urban governance crisis, stemming from inequitable decision-making processes in planning. And my aims are to foster collaborative governance arrangements that span different scales of social and spatial organization and prioritize citizen engagement for practicing urban development at the neighborhood level, and to explore innovative and place-based models for citizen participation in urban governance and planning, which would hopefully provide opportunities for critical reflection of the role of the spatial planning discipline in the development of housing and sustainable neighborhoods. So the outcomes of this research, I expect, will lead to the creation of new planning rules and platforms for direct citizen engagement. My conceptual framework, after doing a literature review on the concepts I'll list right here, is an integration of a notion of social sustainability, which entails social equity, social infrastructure, social capital, and social cohesion. These are concepts that I have reviewed in the literature review, and I kind of combine the understanding of social sustainability with the notions of collaborative governance, experimentation, urban planning, and the urban commons, like you also heard earlier. And these key concepts, if you look at the diagram, which at the top left, kind of as a framework are understood to lead to the bottom left, which will be the interactions that I hope to pursue between the citizens and other actors that I will be researching. And these concepts basically and interactions will be operationalized by my methodology of the Urban Living Lab, which is a methodology which is used for practicing planning by experimentation and collaboration. I'll explain it more later. Research objectives are to analyze the specific challenges regarding social infrastructure from the perspective of citizens. And when I mean social infrastructure, it's the collection of either public spaces or publicly provided infrastructure to benefit the common good for a community, such as, let's say, schools or libraries or public paths and athletic sports grounds and such, but also smaller, let's say, unregulated or informal areas that we can understand as commons and small spaces in between houses and public spaces that can be managed by the community. So I'm going to stay focused on my presentation now and go on to the next points. Mobilize community self-organization and to investigate citizen engagement and co-production of social infrastructure. Apply the methodology of participatory action research and planning and the Urban Living Lab approach, which will foster innovative collaborative governance arrangements between citizens and the local government. And to reveal the contextual factors which matter the most as obstacles or opportunities when bringing different stakeholders together to co-produce solutions to urban problems. So the research question is, what are the contextual factors influencing participation, experimentation, and collaborative governance in planning towards the production of socially sustainable neighborhoods? The methodology is, in general, what is understood as participatory action research, which is influenced by a post-structural approach in the social sciences and is closely related to participatory urban planning practices, which foreground power relations and concentrate on knowledge being produced collaboratively with communities. So in order to take on a participatory action research approach, I will organize the Urban Living Labs as a methodology, also in 2 municipalities to investigate collaboration and urban experimentation at the neighborhood level. So here you see a diagram of the first Urban Living Lab that I organized, which is based on the quadruple helix model who are different stakeholder inputs and other actors. So we see at the left the community, which is a key stakeholder, defining specific topics within the scope of a project. The Lacha municipality, which is kind of suburban area in Nicosia, which facilitates and co-organizes the Urban Living Lab alongside myself. Other non-governmental actors, such as an NGO that was invited, that's involved in sustainability and neighborhood participatory actions, and myself, which I will define the scope of the project. And this collection of stakeholders will be involved in the Urban Living Lab through different iterative processes where knowledge is co-produced with the stakeholders. So it's a process of getting some outcomes, then revisiting them and analyzing them again with the same participants. And that's what I mean by iteratively, evaluating each stage with the participants. So each Urban Living Lab is structured in 3 phases. Initially, there are meetings with the facilitator, which is the municipality. In these meetings, we discuss the methods and the location for the Urban Living Lab. The potential participants and stakeholders are contacted. In the first Urban Living Lab that was done in Lacha, there was a few ways I tried to find participants and approach them, and in a way kind of advertise what I'm doing to them. Some were less successful than others. The least successful, I think, were the ones where I was standing outside of a supermarket on a Saturday morning, handing out flyers for this event. The most successful was probably the Facebook event that I organized, and the municipality also was resharing. The mayor himself was sharing also on Facebook. Potential participants, yes, as I said, are contacted, and then initial community building events are organized so that we begin from something that's, breaking the ice, let's say. And in the second phase, the actual methods that I will describe in a bit are used to facilitate deeper citizen engagement in a series of workshops. And lastly, the workshop outcomes and reflection with the community are done. So I'm not going to read all of this because I just basically wrote a lot of things here which are explaining each method. But briefly, I'll just say how the main method that I'm using in the workshops is the focus group method, because I am interested in the interaction of participants between them in a group setting. And this is the main advantage of doing a focus group over an individual interview, because you are gaining aspects of both participant observation and individual interviews, while the participants are expressing opinions in a group setting. The photo voice is another method, which is in essence me providing photographs to the participants for them to look at and analyze. And it's usually a method that blends individual perceptions and sharing that knowledge with others of what the photographs are kind of expressing. So it's like a visual focus group, let's say. And some go-alongs, which is an interesting kind of concept, or let's say a method, were done with 2 participants from a specific neighborhood because they wanted me to see things that were happening in their neighborhood, that they had some opinions, site-specific problems, let's say. So this method basically is like field work that I walk with them and they show me on site some things that are worth mentioning. And these are some photographs that I took myself and I used as prompts in the photo voice method, not really explaining to the participants why I took the photos, but allowing them to read the content themselves and try and discuss it. And it was quite a successful workshop where they actually got into arguments even about the things that I was showing to them. And here we just see a few snapshots from the actual events. On the left, it was a poster that my friend Frini, who just talked to you earlier, helped me design, and the municipality put in a few locations in public spaces as an advertisement for the events. And then you just see the people, sometimes few, sometimes about 10 or 12 that were participating. Thanks for your time.